division, the undefeated Conor the Destroyer Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr.
Conor Benn reveals that the fear of losing fuels his preparation for the high-stakes grudge match against Chris Eubank Jr. this Saturday.
Do you know, it really does feel like the homecoming for me. You know, it's one of them fights that never seemed to go away. I couldn't not give the British public this fight. You know, and that's strongly how I felt about it. And it was a fight that just had to happen. It was just lingering around. You know, once I put this to bed, then, you know, I'll drop back down to 147 and do what I've got to do. I'm only up here for these two fights, and then I'm dropping back down.
Conor Benn has made a striking confession ahead of one of the most anticipated grudge matches in British boxing history. He's not driven by the glory of victory, but by a deep-rooted fear of losing, as he prepares to finally step into the ring with Chris Eubank Jr., a fight over 2 years in the making. It's this fear that wakes him up at 5 in the morning, pushes him through grueling workouts, and shapes every move he makes leading into fight night. For Benn, this isn't just another bout. It's personal, it's legacy defining, and the pressure on him is like nothing he's faced before.
I've done everything I possibly can in the gym. I've left no stone unturned. So for me, I look at him, I ain't really too concerned. You know, I'll beat him anyway.
This has been a really heated promotion, a lot of bad blood. Is it personal?
Yeah, it's always personal. Every opponent I fight is personal. People want to say it's strictly business. It ain't business. It's never business. If you're trying to put your hands on me and render me unconscious, it's never business. It's always personal. Every single one of my opponent, but this one has a little bit more history to it, should we say.
Yeah, you know, 30 years in the making, you might say, and you're going to fight him on Saturday at Tottenham. How badly do you want to get your hands on him?
Yeah, badly. I mean, I wish I'd done already. I wish I was fighting tonight.
The clash, set to take place this Saturday at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, is more than just a boxing match. It's a continuation of a storied family feud. The sons of Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank Sr., two men who went to war in the 1990s, are now taking center stage in a fight fueled by bitterness and unfinished business. This rivalry isn't just passed down by name. It's lived, breathed, and intensified over time.
If he was to put his hands on my son, I swear to God he wouldn't be living. And until you have kids, obviously you don't, because you don't understand, and your dad obviously never protected you. That's why you feel the way you feel, which is why you obviously feel the way you feel. No, it's again, it must be the way you feel.
I was never protected.
Yeah, you was probably never. You look like you never been protected.
Originally scheduled for October 2022, the fight was derailed when Conor Benn tested positive for banned substances. The fallout was immediate and ugly. The fight was pulled, reputations were questioned, and the venom between the two camps only grew. But after being cleared to fight again in the UK, Benn is returning to British soil for the first time since April 2022, walking into the spotlight with something to prove.
If anyone else touches me...
Well, if I was to slap you right now, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, go on, go ahead.
Yeah, talk about my dad.
You put your hands on me.
Stop moaning about it. You done up to my dad.
You by taking this fight.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now 23-0 with 14 knockouts, Benn remains unbeaten. Eubank Jr., with a record of 34 wins and 3 losses and 25 knockouts to his name, brings experience, size, and the confidence of a man who has been here before. The two finally came face to face during Fight Week in London, their first official meeting since the original fight was cancelled. The tension was palpable, but both men held their tempers in check for now.
Too much on the line though.
The procedure will be parliamentary. Throwing back to a favourite phrase of his dad's. He used it during the press conference as well. He was typical Eubank there. Benn was nice and relaxed, to be honest. I thought he gave good answers. Eubank, of the two of them, is a more natural orator. He knows that. Thursday will be his opportunity, really, to speak at length and say the things that he feels he wants to say.
Despite all the talk around the fight, weight remains one of the most debated topics. Ben is moving up to 160 pounds for this bout, technically 2 weight classes above his natural division, but Eubank Jr. is quick to remind people that Ben hasn't fought at welterweight in years. His last outing against Peter Dobson saw him weigh in at 150.5 pounds, and the fight before that was at 153. Eubank Jr., who's been fighting at middleweight consistently, believes this isn't the dramatic jump people claim it is. He insists the real story isn't about weight, it's about experience, discipline, and talent. And on those fronts, he's confident he has the edge.
You know, it's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup.
Why is it a mismatch?
Because of ability, because of weight classes. Chris Jr. is a middleweight and a super middleweight. You know, he's naturally a super middleweight. So, you know, he's having to starve himself to come down, and you know, with all the catch weights and all of this stuff, it's, you know, it's a mismatch. You know,
Okay.
he is operated at world level. He's been in with the likes of George Groves, and you know, the list goes on. It's a mismatch in ability and weight class.
Ben doesn't deny that 147 pounds is where he feels at his best. That's where he built his career, delivered dominant performances, and knocked out opponents with ease, like Chris Van Heerden, whom he stopped in 2 rounds back in April 2022. But Ben is just as convinced that he can bring that same energy to middleweight. He believes the 4 or 5 extra pounds won't slow him down, and more importantly, won't stop him from delivering a beating to Eubank Jr.
Everything is riding on this fight. This is the biggest fight of my career. The most amount of money, the most amount of pressure, the most amount of everything. Everything is riding on this. A loss would, it would finish me. It would ruin me. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, a defeat would be devastating, because, you know, not only is the beef between me and Conor real, and something that I wouldn't be able to stand, you know, the defeat of on a personal level. I have to uphold the father's legacy, my father's legacy. We're letting him down would probably hurt even more.
You get done in 3 rounds. 3 rounds. Put your money on it. Put your money on it. Put your money on it. Put your money on it.
They cannot get a win over us. I have to respect my father's history, his legacy, what he achieved in his career. I can't let him down, I can't let myself down, and I can't let my fans down.
Chris, how are you feeling ahead of a big fight on Saturday night?
I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I'm happy, I'm fresh. Everything is on track.
For yourself, you know, this is a standard procedure. You've been in big fights. This is Conor's big step up. For yourself as well, you say skills and power, etc., is a big advantage. How much is experience and experience of this big occasion a power for you, an advantage for yourself as well?
I think that is maybe the deciding factor of all this. You know, we both have speed, we both have power, we both are hungry to win. We both do not have the experience that I have. He hasn't got it. He hasn't earned it. He doesn't have experience against, you know, the type of fighter that I am on a stage like we are going to be fighting in. You know, I fought in big arenas many times before in my career. He hasn't. Yeah. I think experience is going to be the deciding factor.
While some in boxing circles believe Ben may be biting off more than he can chew, there are others who see the potential for an upset. One of the most notable voices backing Eubank Jr. is Joe Calzaghe, the undefeated British legend who beat Eubank Sr. back in 1997 to win his first world title. Calzaghe, known for his sharp boxing IQ and pristine 46-0 record, has praised both men's skills but admitted he leans toward Eubank Jr. because of the size difference. He says both fighters have similar levels of talent, but in fights like this, physical attributes often matter most. Joe said, "I think it's a tough one to call. Talent-wise, I think they're on the same sort of level, but normally size wins fights, so I sort of edge with Eubank as he's the bigger guy naturally." Another fighter with insider experience is Liam Smith, the only man to have stopped Eubank Jr. in the ring. Smith famously delivered a 4th-round knockout in early 2023, though Eubank bounced back with a strong performance in their rematch later that year. Reflecting on the upcoming matchup, Smith is firmly in the Eubank Jr. camp. He believes Benn is simply too small to deal with someone of Eubank's reach, strength, and ring savvy.
What do you make of Eubank versus Benn?
You know, I'm not 100% sold on the winner, but I'll probably head towards Chris on points.
Why?
Just size-wise, Conor's small. Yeah, I think Chris might rob a points win, if that makes sense. I think he'll jab, I think he'll be cagey on. I think that's a style now, you know, he's not the Chris of old where everyone makes out he's fucking loves a fight and ferocious and got this big high work rate. I think he's very cagey, jabs and holds a lot. And I think he won't give Conor a chance in there.
Carl Frosch added his take, pointing to the fact that Eubank Jr. has shared the ring with elite-level opponents at higher weight classes. While Frosch acknowledges Benn's explosive performances, such as his knockout win over former champion Chris Algieri, he feels those victories came against fading fighters. Frosch doesn't think Benn has what it takes to match Eubank Jr. in size, experience, or adaptability.
But Eubank Jr. was obviously knackered at the weight, so I just think that all the variables, and you look at who's done what and who's the bigger, stronger man and who's got the experience at world level, you're gonna have to say Chris Eubank Jr. He's fought Groves, he's fought Billy Joe Saunders, he's been in there and beat Arthur Abraham, James DeGale, former IBF super middleweight world champion. He beat him. So he's performed at a better level and proven that at a higher weight, he kind of belongs around the world, sort of the world level status, where Conor Benn hasn't done anything. He's done nothing. Make no mistake. Yes, he banged out Chris Algieri, who was a former champ, and he looked good doing it. But it was a way past his best, Chris Algieri. I was working the commentary team for him alongside Roy Jones Jr. when Billy Joe Saunders fought Canelo Alvarez, and Chris was saying to me, "I'm not in the gym. I'm not training. I'm not interested in boxing anymore. I'm going to concentrate on my punditry." About 6 months later, I'm seeing getting knocked out by Conor Benn. I thought, what is going on? Why do these fighters do it? Obviously, some of them need the bunts. But yeah, if I'm going to pick who I think is my immediate favourite for this fight, I'm going to say Chris Eubank Jr. based on everything I've just told you.
However, Tony Bellew offers a slightly different viewpoint. He sees a path for Benn if it's fast and furious. Bellew predicts that Benn's aggression, high punch output, and unrelenting pace could overwhelm Eubank early. If Benn is going to win, Bellew believes it has to happen in the first half of the fight. But he also warns that if Eubank weathers the storm, the size difference could lead to a brutal ending for Benn in the later rounds.
For Conor, mate, that could, if he feels any kind of exhaustion, the last thing you want to do is be in the ring with a bigger man. I think this fight's a fight for over 12 rounds. It's a case of, it's 2 fights in one. First 6, I think Conor's going to be so ferocious, so brutal, so vicious. I think he gets the job done then.
That's what he'll
But
have
I
to
will
do,
tell
yeah.
you what, if you have not got the job done by round 6, that's when weight divisions exist for a reason. That's when weight classes exist for a reason.
Very good.
I actually think Conor is a far better fighter than Chris Eubank Jr. is a boxer.
Technically, yeah.
And that's the problem that Chris Eubank Jr. is having. He's got this thing in his mind. He's a masterful boxer. No, you're not.
No.
I'm sorry, no, you're not.
Shakur Stevenson has spent time around Benn and respects his drive. Stevenson admires Benn's bravery in stepping up in weight and going after one of the division's more experienced names. Still, he believes Eubank's fundamentals, his jab, footwork, and ring control, are often underrated and will be crucial come fight night. While Stevenson is cheering for Benn, he's under no illusion about how tough this task is.
The Conor Benn Chris Eubank fight over in the UK. Conor Benn and Eubank, both pretty big names, but Conor going up 2 weight divisions really to take that fight. You're smiling. So what do you what's your take on that one?
I'm just smiling because like I met Conor Benn, like he a cool ass dude.
He is.
He's very cool. Like
Yeah.
everybody talk about how mean he is, but like every time I ran into him, he was always like a really cool dude. He always showed me like good energy. But truthfully, with that fight, I think that's a hard task just because of Chris Eubank. He's like a guy with subtle boxing skills. Like you ain't really noticing how like good he is, but he's a pretty good fighter. So I think it's a hard task. Good luck to Conor. I can't really give you an answer on how the fight will go, but I'm rooting for Conor Benn.
Then there's Ricky Hatton, who shares a close relationship with the Benn family. Hatton knows what it takes to go up in weight and compete with bigger men. He also knows what it's like to fight with emotion. He sees Benn as the underdog, but hasn't ruled out an upset. Hatton points to Eubank's past struggles with weight, particularly how depleted he looked against Liam Smith. If Eubank enters the ring drained or sluggish, Hatton believes Benn could take advantage and flip the script.
It's really interesting to think, to be honest with you. I mean, Conor's going up for, you know, 2 weight divisions. He's not fought anyone like the people that Eubank Jr. has fought, you know, at his own weight, let alone 2 weights above. So it'll be very interesting. But Conor has a huge self-belief and drive, to be honest with you. You know, a drive like his dad, the Benn family. I've never seen a family with more drive and determination. So I think everything's pointing at Chris Eubank Jr. But I think I might have a sneaky few quid on Conor, to be honest with you. His drive and his confidence and his self-belief is something that I've only ever seen in a handful of people, and he's going to need that, and I think that might be enough against Eubank.
Meanwhile, Amir Khan, who once backed Benn, has shifted his prediction. Having spent time thinking it over, Khan now believes the physical disparity is simply too great. He respects Benn's work ethic and fighting heart, but he thinks Eubank's power and durability will wear Benn down as the rounds go on. Khan compares Eubank to fighters like Canelo Alvarez, not in terms of skill, but in physical presence. He doesn't think Benn can stand up to that level of strength for 12 rounds.
At the fight, you've got 2 different styles. You've got an aggressive Conor Benn style, and then you've got a boxer in Eubank. So, you know, it'll be a technical fight. Is a shorter guy, stronger guy gonna push him back? Or is the guy who's the taller guy and who's more of a better boxer, is he gonna outbox Conor? So it's hard to tell. You know what I mean? Who's gonna win that fight?
Benn's promoter, Eddie Hearn, remains firmly in his corner. Hearn has stood by Benn through the doping controversy and continues to hype his fighter's chances. He believes the public is underestimating Benn's hunger and determination. According to Hearn, Benn's training camp has been flawless. No corners cut, no days off, just pure focus. He says Benn is likely to weigh in around 157 to 158 pounds and rehydrate to 165. Meanwhile, Eubank Jr. could bulk up to 175 before the opening bell, a 10-pound weight gap that will be felt in every clinch and exchange. But Hearn doesn't think that matters. He insists that Benn wants it more than Eubank ever could, and that, he says, could be the difference.
I think the one thing that Chris Eubank has that Conor doesn't in this fight is size and probably strength. What he doesn't have, in my opinion, is the boxing ability, the speed, the movement of Conor Benn. Don't get me wrong, if this fight was at the same weight class, Conor Benn's a big favourite. But Conor Benn's coming up 2 weight classes, and that's what makes this fight a 50-50. Eubank has the size, but Conor has the speed, the sharpness, and in my opinion, the ability.
Now, with the weigh-in looming and just days to go before the bell rings, the anticipation is boiling over. Eddie Hearn expects things to stay calm until Friday, then all bets are off. He predicts that the weigh-in could spark fireworks, but urges Benn to stay composed. The hard work is done, he says. Now it's just about execution.
He's just had the camp of dreams. Honestly, he's invested so heavily in that camp, and actually, like, you should never be afraid to make that kind of investment financially. I mean, especially if you're making a great payday. But not many people go to that level to make sure that it's perfect in every way. Food, sleep, strength, recovery, massage, like sparring, gym facilities, everything. And as an athlete, or in anything you do, if you've prepared like that, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm ready. I couldn't have done anything more. Now I've got to go out there and enjoy myself and deliver. And I believe he will next week.
Duke McKenzie added a layer of realism to the hype. He acknowledged the drama, the legacy, and the personal rivalry, but reminded everyone that it's the actual fight that counts. In his eyes, this isn't just a headline event because of who their fathers are. It's because both men are legitimate threats, and their styles promise fireworks.
You know, Eubank Benn is synonymous, obviously, because of their dads, and obviously this man had a part to play in that whole shake-up. So I mean, you know, Eubank Benn, it's brought a whole new audience to the sport of boxing, a whole new young audience to the sport of boxing. You know, you don't get a lot of young guys now talking about Benn Eubank seniors. They're talking about Benn Eubank juniors, and all the kids in my gym are absolutely sold on this. It's box office, it's entertainment, but it's entertainment of the highest order because these two are proper boxers.
Steve Collins, who fought both Eubank Sr. and Benn Sr. during his own storied career, gave perhaps the most dramatic prediction. Collins doesn't think Benn needs to outbox Eubank Jr. He just needs one shot, one clean punch to change the tide. In his view, this isn't about strategy, it's about impact.
Eubank do what his dad done in the day and land big shots. You know, he's not going to outbox him. He's not going to, you know, outsmart him. He's just going to have to land big shots. That's his route to success in this fight. It's not going to be easy. But that's how I see Conor winning: is landing big shots and hurting and stopping Eubank. Eubank is clever. He's been at a good level. He's tough. So it's a hard shout. You know, if Conor lands the big shots, he could do it. If he doesn't.
As the stage is set and the spotlight intensifies, the stakes couldn't be higher. Benn is fighting not just for victory, but for redemption. Eubank Jr. is looking to assert dominance and close the chapter his father started decades ago. For fans, it's a dream matchup. Heart versus experience, legacy versus legacy, and a rivalry generations deep finally reaching its boiling point. So what are your thoughts about this? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.